and today I'm going to solve Good and Plenty by Blobz. For those of you who are not familiar with American sweets or candy, Good and Plenty are a kind of torpedo-shaped candy that has a licorice cylinder inside and then a white or a pink coating that is crunchy and sugary, and I think they're quite delicious. But the short remband lines here are certainly reminiscent of those, so I'm sure that's where the name came from. If you would like to try solving this puzzle for yourself, it'll be the first link in the description, and let's have a look at the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, so we are going to place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, every column, and every 3 by 3 box. Cells a chess knight's move apart cannot contain the same digit. So if this were a 1, then we could not place a 1 in any of these positions because they are a chess knight's move away from that central digit. Digits in circles must appear in a cell that touches the circle. So in these 4 cells, we will get a 1, a 2, and a 3. And digits on pink lines are consecutive. So if this were a 2, this would be a 1 or a 3. Okay, I am going to restart the puzzle to reset the timer. And let's begin. Okay, I am spotting something. That is going to have to make use of a couple of theorems in Sudoku. So first of all, these 4 cells, or 4 sets of cells, look awfully suspicious. Especially as I happen to know that those cells are exactly the same digits as those cells. Now, that may seem a bit of a stretch, but it's known as the Fistemafel ring. But it is a property of all standard Sudokus that this fact is true. So let me first of all prove that. All right. I am going to make that, this, and this. I'm going to shade all of those green. Okay. We know, because of the rules of Sudoku, that this is a set of the digits 1 to 9. This is also a set of the digits 1 to 9. This is another set of the digits 1 to 9. And so is this. So in green, I have 4 sets of the digit 1 to 9. I am now going to highlight these cells and these ones. And I'm going to color those teal. Now, they are 4 columns of the Sudoku, and we know each column is the set of the digits 1 to 9, and so that is 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9. So what we have in green is 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9, and what we have in teal is 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9. So they are currently containing the exact same thing. Now, in the finished Sudoku, this will be some digit. I don't know what that digit is right now, but it is in both the green set and the teal set. So if I remove that digit from both sets, I no longer, right now, know what the exact composition of the green set and the teal set are. But I do know that they are the same, because I've removed the same thing from both sets. So I can now remove all of those and all of these because I'm doing the exact same thing. And that means that what I have left is the exact same thing. The green is what I have left, or this green ring is what I have left in green, and these 4 2x2s is what I have left in teal. So the exact set of digits that are in green are the exact set of digits that are in teal. Now, the second thing that is useful to know is that in a knight's move constraint puzzle, which this is, there are 2 options for this ring, and that is either it contains all 9 digits, or it contains exactly 8, and furthermore, if it contains 8 only, then this digit is the 9th digit. That's the one missing from the ring. So first of all, I will prove that, and then I will go ahead and say why that is a useful thing to consider. So let us suppose that there is a digit that is missing from this ring. Okay? Where is that digit in this box? Well, if it's missing from the ring, it's missing from the teal cells, so it must be in one of these 4. And what I'm going to do is actually colour those in 2 different colours, which will become apparent in a moment. Or the reason for that will become apparent in a moment, I hope. So in this box, it must again be in one of these white cells, because we know that we've made the assumption that there is a cell missing from the ring, therefore it's missing from teal, because we know that teal has the same digits as the ring. So I'm going to colour those green and those orange. And I'm going to colour those green and these orange. And these orange and these green, light green. So we know that if there is a digit missing from the ring, it must be in the light green or orange cells. And in particular, if it's in one of these 2, then it's not in green down here, so it must be in one of these 2. And if it's in one of these 2, it can't be in green here, it's in one of these 2, and vice versa. So actually we know it's either this putative missing digit is either in one of the orange pairs or in one of the green pairs. Okay, now we have the knight's move constraint. And what's interesting is that these 2 cells are cannot contain our putative missing digit, because if it were in orange, if it were in this cell, then this cell sees this one by sudoku and it sees this one by knight's move. This one sees this one by sudoku and this one by knight's move. Likewise, if it's in green, then whichever one it's in sees both of those cells. If we look in this box, we know that it's not in the dark green, and now we know that it's not in those 2. And we know that it's not in those 2, and we know that it's not in those 2. So where is that digit in this row? It must be in one of these 3 yellow cells. But where is the digit in this column? It's not here, and it's not here, so it must be in one of these 3. So it is simultaneously in the yellow cells and in the pink cells, or in one of the pink cells. And the only cell that is simultaneously in both is the central cell. So if there is a digit missing from the FL ring in a Knight's Move puzzle, because it's only in the Knight's Move puzzle that we get the ability to say that it can't be in one of these two, one of these 8 cells, then it must be in the middle as the middle digit. Now, suppose there were 2 digits that were missing from the FL ring. Well, that means that we could follow the process for one of them, and then we would follow the process for the other, but that would require both of those digits to be in this central cell. So we cannot have 2 or more digits missing from the ring when we have the Knight's Move constraint in play. Why is that particularly important? Well, that means we must have at least 8 different digits in this ring. But let's have another look at these corner areas. And what we can see is that we have ones in each of them. So that's 4 ones. We have 2s in each of them. That's 4 2s. We have 3s in 2 of them. So that's 2 3s. And we have 4s in 2 of them. And that's 2 4s. So that means so far we have 4 1s, 4 2s, 2 3s, and 2 4s. That takes us to 12. We have a total of 16 digits in these 4 corner areas. But we've just said that we can't have, we must have at least 8 different digits. But we've already used 12 of our 16. So that means we only have 4 digits left. That means, first of all, that they have to all be different, but it's also only 4 of the 5 remaining potential digits. Therefore, we do have only 8 different digits in the ring, and the 9th digit is going to be in the center here. So, that seems like a useful starting point. Okay. And what I am going to do is change this green for purple so that I can talk about green and orange separately without getting confused as to which green I'm using. All right. So what we have figured out is that the purple cells here are the same as the teal cells in the corner. We have also figured out that the purple and teal cells contain exactly 8 different digits, comprising of 4 1s, 4 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, and 4 of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we also know that this central digit is either in the green dominoes or it's in the orange dominoes. So, where do we go from here? Well, the first thing is we know that there's a 1 and a 2 in those. We know that there's a 1 and a 2 in those. That uses up the 1s and 2s in rows 8 and 9. So the 1 and 2, here we go, in this row must be in those cells. Likewise, we have a 1 and a 2 there, a 1 and a 2 there. We can place 1 and 2 into those 3 cells, and the same for these as well. That one is interesting because it either has a 1 or a 2 on it. I can't put both 1 and 2 here. So if that has a 1 or a 2 on it, that can only be from 1, 2, and 3. I can also see that this can't be a 1, because if this were a 1, this would be a 2, but we know that 2 is in those three, so that can't be a 1. Okay, I cannot have a 4 in this set of 4 cells, because I don't have room to get 8 different digits in if I do that, because I've already got 12 digits assigned by the circles, so I need 4 of 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I don't have room for an additional 4 that's not marked by a circle. So I can't have 4 in here. Therefore, what's going on this Renban line? If I have 5 through 9, well, so in each of these 4 circles, I'm going to have 4 2 by 2s, I'm going to have one of the digits 5 through 9. So I can't put any of the digits 5 through 9 on this line, because there's no digit that I can make it adjacent to, consecutive with. So that means that these are from 1, 2, and 3, and I must have a 2 on there. Okay. I think I can do the same down here. Yes. So the 4th digit here is going to be 5 or more. And therefore it can't go on the Renban line. Therefore, those are from 1, 2, and 3 and include a 2. Okay. This cannot have a 3 in it, and it can't have a 3 for the exact same reason that these can't have a 4, which is that if I put a 3 in here, I do not have room to get 4 digits from 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 into my teal areas. So 3 is not on here, and that means I can't. Well, I could put 4 on here with a 5, but I definitely can't put 2 on here with a 3. I know that 2 is in one of these two, because 2 is looking up there. Okay, so if this is a 2, that cannot be, that cannot be a 3, because I'm not allowed to have a 3 in here. So if that's a 2, that is a 1. But if 2 is here, then where does 1 go in this quadruple? I can't put it on the line, because if I put it on the line, it has to go with a 2. So if 2 is up here, 1 is here. So 1 is in one of these two. That looks back down here and makes that a 2-3 pair. And 1 is in one of those. That's nice. Okay. So do we have something similar going on here? Well, I don't have a Renban in here, but what I do have is a 1, 2 looking from here or from here. So we know that 2 must be in one of these two. If 2 is here, 1 is here, and if 2 is here, 1 is here. So if 2 is here, we know that 1 is here, and this must be a 3. But if 2 is here, then 1 is here, and this must be a 3. So this must be a 2-3 pair. Because I can't put a 4 on here, as we've already discussed. So I have a 1 in one of those. That gives me a 1 in one of those and a 2 in one of those. Okay. So the other thing that I'm thinking about is that as of right now, I have some information about 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, but I have no information about 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. The only way I can get that information is if I end up placing particular, the lower digits on these pink lines, because if I get a 4 on one of them that has to go with a 5, I now know something about 5s, and maybe I'll get a 5 on another line, which will then cause the other end of that line to have a 6. So that's the approach I'm taking. So I need to start looking at where low digits go. Okay. The other thing is I know that this digit is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. I know that's a horrible pencil mark, but I'm going to do that anyway. Okay, so something I can see is that because that is either 1, 2, or 2, 3, that's not a 2. Okay, that is really nice. The question I'm going to ask is, where does 1 go in this row? And the answer is, I don't know. At least, not exactly. But I know it can't go in one of those two, because we know that 1 is going to be in one of those 3. And I know it can't be in one of those 2. And obviously it can't go here. So the question is, can it go here or here? And I think that the answer to both of those questions is no. Now, if I try putting a 1 here in this cell, I knock out both of the options for 1 in these two. Remember, I can't put a 1 here because that can't be a 2. So if I have a 1 here, those cannot be 1 by sudoku and knight's move. So I can't put a 1 here. If I put a 1 here, that makes this a 2, but I can't put a 2 here because that knocks out both possibilities for 2 in this column. So I can't put a 1 here or here. And that means that one of those must be a 1. Let's mark that with a yellow. So one of those two is a 1 in this row. And this cell sees both of these by knight's move, and this cell sees both of these by knight's move. So in this column, I can't put 1 in any of these cells, and therefore one of these is a 1. Okay, so in this column, we have two possibilities for 1. And we know that these are not 1s. So that means that in the central box, those are our possible locations for a 1. All right. Which of those don't work? And how are we going to figure that out? Okay. If this were a 1, then that means that neither of these two cells can be a 1 because it sees 1 by sudoku and 1 by knight's move. And neither of these two is a 1 by the exact same process. So if this is a 1, then these two must be 1s. And by symmetry, we can see the same here. If that's a 1, that takes out this one and this one and this one and this one. And so these two must be the 1s. So we actually get a line of 3 on this sort of internal diagonal as where our 1s go. So is there going to be a problem with any of those? And yes, there is. That cannot be our set of 1s, because if that were our set of 1s, that knocks out both of those 1s. So that is not a potential 1. Can those be 1s? If that's a 1, then that has to be a 2. That has to be 3. That has to be 2. That seems reasonable. That would not be 2, so that would be a 2. That would be a 3. Okay, I can't see anything obviously wrong with that. If that's a 1, then that's a 2. Wait. Hang on a minute. If that's a 1, then that's a 2, and that's a 3, and that's a 2. But if that's not a 1, then that's a 1, and that's a 2. So it doesn't matter. That's a 2. Okay. Let's remove 2 candidates from there. So this 2 sees that cell by knight's move. So that is not a 2. So that's not a 1. That's a 2, and that's a 1. Okay, I wasn't expecting that, but that seems reasonable. So that makes that a 3, and that a 2, and that a 1. That 2 means that neither of those two are 2. Okay. And that 2 means that that's not a 2. So that is a 2. That must be a 3. That 2 means that that is not 2. Okay. We need a 4 in this set of 4 digits, so that's a 4 and a 5. It can't go with a 3. 3 cannot go there, so 3 is in one of these two. In fact, the 2-3 pair is looking up. That's a 3. And we know that's not a green digit because we know that this central cell is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. We have a 5 in here. That's not a 5. Okay. And that 3, this is very nice. That 3 is looking down here. That is not a 3. That makes that a 1. So that's not a 1. That's not a 1. In fact, one of those two is a 1, and one of those two is. So that's not a 1, and that's not a 1. So let's remove the yellow from those. Okay, we know that that's not, oh, that's not 1. Okay, 2. Can't be in any of those. But it can't be here because that knocks out the 2's from those, and it can't be here because that knocks out both of those 2's. So that must be the 2 in this central box. That means that those 2 are not 2's. That's a 2. And if that's a 2, then that must be the 1 for the column. And if those 2 are 1's, then that's the 1 for the box. Right, that must be a 2. And I think I can get rid of the yellow now. Okay. That can't be a 1, so that must be a 3. That's not a 1, and that's not a 1, so that one is, and that one is. How are we doing for 1's? Those two 1's both see that one by knight's move, so that makes that 1. That's 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have all of our 1's. This is very nice. Okay, I have my 4 2's in the ring. I need to get 2 3's in the ring. Those are not 3. That's not a 3 by knight's move. That's not a 3 because I've got one in the box. So I've got 3 places for 3's, and I need to fill 2 of them because I need 2 3's in the ring because I've got 2 3's in the 2 by 2's in the corners. Okay, but I don't see. Yes, I do. I can see that that must be a 3 just by sudoku. Where does 3 go in this column? There's 1 there. Okay. All right. So now what? So I need to put 2 4's in the ring and 1 5. So I know that that's not 4 or 5, so that's from 6 and up. Yeah, why not? Let's do that. Okay. Where does 4 go in this row? We can clearly mark off this one for a start. Let's actually ask, where does 4 go in this box? First of all, we know that it doesn't go there because I can't put another 4 in teal. We know that it doesn't go here because of sudoku. So in this box, 4 goes in one of those 3 cells. Right, I forgot to say that that can't be a 4. I had it in my head. That can't be a 4 because on the pink line, 4 has to go on, if 4 is on a Renban, the other end of it must be 5 or 3, but that cannot be 5 or 3 because the 3 is in the box and the 5 is looking at it in the row. So that can't be a 4. So 4 is in one of these cells, and therefore 4 cannot go here, because if 4 were here, it would knock out all the possibilities for 4 in this box. So 4 cannot go here. So where does 4 go in the row? It's one of these two, and that's not a 4. Okay. So where does 5 go in this box? I can't put another 5 in teal. The only other digits I'm allowed to add to teal now are 6, 7, 8, and 9. And it could go here. Oh no, it can't go here because of the 4-5 pair looking at it. It could go here if that's a 6. But what it does mean is that 5 goes in one of those cells, and again, it cannot go here. So if that's a 5, that one gets knocked out by knight's move. Those 3 potentials get knocked out by sudoku. So that's not a 5. Therefore, in this row, 5 is in one of those 3. And that is not a 5. Okay. How does that help? Okay, I know that 4 is in one of those two. And I know from this quadruple that 4 is in one of those 3. So where does 4 go in this column? And the answer is right there. So that's a 4. That is not a 4, and that is. So 5 is now in one of 2 places here. That 4 means that that is not a 4. That makes this a 2-4 pair. All right. So 3 is not in any of those by sudoku. 3, therefore, must be exactly there. Where was the other place for 3 that I need in the ring? That can't be a 3 because that can't be a 2 or a 4. That can't be a 3. It must be here. So that's my 2 3s in the ring. I need another 4 in the ring. And I can't place one there or there by sudoku or there. So this is a 4. Okay. That's looking nice. So now I have a 5 here or here, because I need to have a 5 in the ring, and if that's a 5, then that's not, but we already know that's not, and I need to have a 5 here, and if that is not a 5, then that's a 5. So one of those two is a 5, which makes one of these two a 6, which curiously means that that's not a 6, because that one sees that by sudoku, and it sees that one by knight's move. Okay. We know that 4 and 5 aren't there. That can't be 4 or 5, so 4 and 5 are up here. Four in this box can't be here by sudoku, can't be in either of those two because of that one by knight's move, so that's a 4. That places a 4 into one of these two, but that 4 is looking at that one by knight's move, so that's a 4, that's a 5, that's a 4. Okay. That 4 is looking at there by knight's move, so that's not 4, or we've got one in the column that we could have used. That seems fair. Let's have a look at our 4s. Right, those can't be 4s. That can't be a 4. So 4 is in one of those three, and if that's a 4, that's a 5. Yeah, I'll put those in. Okay. What next? 5s. It's got to be. Okay, so in this box, 5 is in one of those three, and that means that 5 is in one of those two by sudoku. Those two both see this line, so this can't be a 4, because if that were a 4, that can't be a 3 or a 5. So that's not a 4, that makes one of those two a 4, that's not a 4, and that is. Okay. That was nice. Let's see. That cannot be 5 because both of those cells see it. By knight's move. Okay, if that's a 5, that makes that 5. That makes one of those two a 5. In fact, if that's 5, that makes that 5. So 5 can't go there. We already know it can't go there because of that. So that makes one of those two 5. which makes that 5. That now looks back down and makes this one the 5, which makes that a 5. That one would not be. So it's one of those two. In fact, that is looking there. So that's not a 5. So where were we at? If that's a 5, that's not. That eliminates 5 from there. So 5 is one of those two. That eliminates 5 from here, here, here. So that makes that 5, which eliminates that one, which makes us have that one, which makes us have that one. Which makes us have that one, making this a 6. Okay. That's a 5. So yes, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if that's a 5, we get all of our 5s. If this is a 5, then, because we need one in the ring, that's a 5. Making that a 6. So that means that one of these two is a 6 in this column. That means that one of these two would be a 5, but that's a 5, that's a 6, so that can't be a 5 because that would be a 6. So that means that that's a 5. That makes that 5. Okay, I've just spotted something even easier. Where does 5 go in this column? It goes in one of these two. Okay. Because that pair of 5 candidates is knocking it out of there. So 5 is in one of those two. What does that mean? So it's either those two or these two. Because that one would take out, yeah, if 5 were there, then it's not that one. So it must be that one. Okay. But if that's 5, that's a 6. Wait. Didn't I get 6 as an option here? All right, if that's 5, then that's 5. That's 5. That's 5. That makes that 5. And that's 6 here. Okay, if that's 5, then that's 5. That's 5. That's 5. That's 5. So 5 is here or here in this row, which means that 6 is here or here. So that can't be a 6. That's a small win. but I think I'll take it. So let me just go through that again. If this is a 5, no. If this is a 5, then this is a 5 because I need a 5 in the ring. That means that that's not, and that's a 5, and that's a 6. Okay? But if this is a 5, then this is a 5 because I can't make that one a 5. That makes this a 5. That places a 5 here, which makes this a 6 because it can't be a 4. So one of these two is a 6, and that's not a 6. So now I need a place for a 6 in the ring. 6 can't go there because we know that 6 is here or here. So that means that 6 in the ring is in one of those three. What does that do for us? All right. Okay. Right, if that's 5, then this is a 6. If that's 5, where do our 5s go? We have a 5 here. That becomes a 5. That becomes a 5. That becomes a 5. That becomes a 5. We get a 6 here. Which still leaves our two potentials for a 6 there. Where else do we get 5s? In this column, that's a 5. One of these two is a 5, and it's that one, making that a 5. Is that all of our 5s? And what's wrong with that? I don't see it. So let's have a look at the other possibility. If that's a 5, we need a 5 in the ring, so that's a 5. That means that that's a 5. That's a 5 because yeah, that one, yeah, that can't be by sudoku, that can't be by knight's move, those can't be by sudoku. All right, so that would be a 5, that makes that a 5. Wait, does that make that a 5 either way? Now I need to have another look at that. Yes, yes it does, that's a 5. Because, right, I'm pretty sure that that's a 5 either way. Right, if that's a 5, we need that a 5. That means that that's not a 5, so that one is, that eliminates 5 from there. and they're making that 5, and so that's not 5, and so that is. But if this is 5, that's not a 5 there, so that's a 5, and that's not 5. So that's 5. Okay. So let's mark these up with 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we know that that one's not a 6 because we know that one of these two is a 6. Okay, is there anything that they both see? This is tricksy. Where is my next deduction? And I'm sure it's to do with the 5s and the 6s. So if this is a 6, if that's a 5, this is a 6. That would mean that 6 is not there. But I need a 6 in the box. In the ring. If that's a 5, then that's a 5, because that can't be. Which would make that 6, but in particular that would not be a 6. So if that's a 5, that's a 6. One of those two would be a 6. So that means that one of those two is a 6. If that's a 6. I feel like there's something I am missing and I can't quite see it. But it has to be to do with these 5s. Or 6s. Or possibly even 7s. Now we've got a few 5s in place. Right. One of these 3 is a 6. And I know that because if this is a 5, then that's a 6. Therefore meaning that one is not a 6. And if that's not a 5, then that must be a 5 and therefore not a 6. So 6 is in one of those 3. So 6 cannot be here. Can that be a 6? If that's a 6, that makes this a 6, because that can't be, but I need one in the ring. And if that's a 6, that's not a 6, or that. So that makes one of those two a 6. One of those two would be a 6. One of those 3 would be a 6, so that would not be. And so that would be a 6. Wait. Right, if that's a 6, I need a 6 in the ring. That makes that 6. That means that that's not a 6, but we know that the only other place for 6 in the column is here. And then I have nowhere for 6 in this box. So that's not a 6. So now 6 is on this line. So that is from 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Goodness. So if that is 6, then none of those is 6, so one of those is 6. And neither of those can be a 6. Yeah. If that's a 6, none of those are 6 by Sudoku and Knight's move. That means that 6 must be here and 6 can't be there, but it has to be. So that is not a 6, and that's a 6. Now, does that mean that that had to be the 5? That's definitely 5 or 7. Okay, that can't be a 5, so 5 is now in one of those two. That is not a 5, this is a 5. There we go. Whew, that felt big because that 5 means that that is not a 5. And I need a 5 in the ring, so that's a 5. In fact, that's not 5. So that is a 6, 7 pair. This has to be a 6 because it can't be a 4. So these are 7, 8, and 9. 9. We also know that that's not green. But I don't know whether green or orange is what we need to have yet. Okay. Moving on. So these are from 7, 8, and 9. That 6 is looking at that, so that's not a 6. So 6 is in one of these two. That's where the 5 goes in the row. So that is an 8, 9 pair. Six can't go there. So 6 is here or here in this row, and it's not there because of that. Right, so 6 in this box is here. That displaces a 5. All right. So these are from 7, 8, and 9. I must have an even digit on there, so the 8 is there. That's not an 8. That's from 7, 8, and 9. I must have an 8 on there, so that's not an 8. 6 is in one of these two, and this 6 says it's not that one, so that's a 6. So this is 7 or 9, because we know that the 8 is one of those two. We have a 7, 8, 9 triple in this column, so that is a 6. That's our 6 for the, well, one of those is our 6 for the ring. Let's make sure I do that right. Have I got places for 6s? Yes, here we go. 6 can't go there by this 6. 6 can't go here by this 6, and it can't go here by this 6. So 6 is on here. And it can't go with a 5, so that is a 6, 7 pair. That knocks 7 out of those. So 7 is now in the ring. So 7 is in one of those three, so that's an 8 or a 9. Okay. 6 is in one of those two. Do I know which? I don't think so. That's 6, 7, 8, or 9. Okay. I feel like we are getting close. So one of those two is a 3. They're from 3, 8, and 9. That is 7 or 9 because one of those has to be an 8. Okay. All right. Where is the next useful thing? Where's 5 in here? It's not there. So it's there, there, or there. I don't think I can tell right now. All right. Um, Well, that 6 is looking across there. So that's a 7. That's a 6. That was probably handy. And of course, that 7 is looking there. That's a 9. That makes that an 8. So 8 is our missing digit. And it's the green because we've just removed 8 from there. That makes that 8. So now we can remove the orange. In fact, if I'd thought about it, I would have realized that that 4, 5 meant that it couldn't have been orange for some time. So it's been green all along, and I just couldn't see it. That 8 is looking there at that. That makes that an 8. And that's the green digit. That is not orange. Neither of those are 8, so that's a 7, 9 pair. That's 8. Good in the green cell. That is 8 in a green cell. I need an 8 into one of these two, and it's not that one. So that's 8 in a green cell. That makes that 5. Those are not 8. 5 is not in any of those, so that's a 5. That makes that a 5. This 8 means that that's 9. This must be a 7 for multiple reasons. One, I've got a 3, 9 pair there. 2, I need to have a 7 in my teal cells. Okay. We are still not quite done. That is a 7, meaning that that one is not. That is not 7. That is not 8. That has to be the 8. That 7 means that that's a 9. So that's 7. That's 9, and that's 7. Okay, 8 is in one of those two, and 8 is in one of those two. Nine is not in either of those two cells, so that's a 9. That's a 4. That's an 8. That 9 is a That makes that 3 and 9. That 4 makes this 2 and 4. So we get a 2 and a 3 over here. That's a 9. That's a 7. That 8 makes that 8. That, I think, is all of our 8s. How do we resolve this? That 7 is looking there. So that's a 6. That's a 7. We need a 6 in the ring. We need a 9 in the ring. That 6 means that that's not a 6, and that is. That's a 7 to complete the box. We get a 7 here and a 9 here. And wow, that was a little bit of a marathon, a bit tougher than my normal fare. But I really, really enjoyed that. I'm glad that I knew about the Fistmafel ring and the potato head theorem for Knight's Move puzzles, because I don't think I would have been able to do that if I didn't already know those tricks. In any case, I really enjoyed this. If you liked this puzzle and solve, then please hit the like button. You can subscribe to see some more, and I would love to hear your comments. I'm looking forward to next time. Be seeing you.